What is artificial intelligence? Welcome to Philosopher's Corner. I'm John. What is artificial intelligence? The standard definition of artificial intelligence is a computer or machine that has been constructed to think like a human or display intelligence relative to the standard of human intelligence. So where are we at philosophically with it? Let's get into this. Like, it's relative to intelligence is relative to human intelligence, and I did another video on intelligence where I believe that intelligence is defined as applied awareness. So in this sense, humans are being intelligent. Humans' intelligence is leading to a place where they're trying to replicate the process of their own intelligence. And that's what artificial intelligence announces, for starters. Just the fact that human beings are engaged in the process of replicating intelligence. One of the ideas being that perhaps it's autonomous. That's further down the line, but that's in there. But just as a being in and of itself, human beings are at a point where they've gotten to a sufficient level of intelligence where they are now engaged in the process of replicating the intelligence outside of themselves. And that's the realm of artificial intelligence. So the idea is that we get a computer, we'll focus it more into the computer areas, that there can be the creation of a thinking process. Now, in this respect, almost all of the focus needs to be into the core creation of sort of the brain of it, the thought process, the mind. So science is essentially attempting to create a technological mind that mimics or functions as a human mind in the way that a human mind does. So the most common way that artificial intelligence moves forward to try to achieve this goal is through computer programming, essentially neural networks. And within the neural networks themselves, if you've ever seen a neural network or like a machine learning system, essentially you have input data on one side, and then from each node of input data, there's a specific number of channels from the input nodes that the flow of the information, the flow of the energy can then go to the next layer of other nodes. And in these nodes are programmed values. Every one of the nodes has values programmed into. So even in the initial input nodes, based on the information or the stimulation that's coming in, it can send it to one of these other nodes. And then as it goes to the next one, like you can send it to one, it can send it to multiple, depending on how they set it up. And then at the next layer of nodes, they again have another set of values programmed into them. And depending on what the preceding input was, combined, filtered against the values they have on the next one, then it can go to another layer of nodes who similarly have another set of values. And those values can be programmed sort of in a linear way where it's like ABC, or they can program them in a way where layers are more sophisticated and takes into account context, so preceding sequencing. Sequencing becomes a big part of this. We'll get into that a little bit later. But essentially it goes from one node to another node. So layer, 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 layer. And you can have as few or as many layers in that process as you want until you come out to the output side. And at the output side, after it's gone through all these layers, all these different values, which attempt to mimic the neural networks of the human brain, you get an output. Now, on the output side, it could be whatever. It could be purely informational output, like, oh, here's a little ticker tape with the information that you want, like a fortune cookie or a program code or whatever. or it could be instructions for the system that it's embedded in to take action. It can give them actionable decisions. For instance, if you had that network inside the housing of a robot, that could be the process that then, when the output happens, it then goes to another part that says, okay, well, now you're gonna to get that output. It could have said, the last layer could have been select a the input could have been speech, audio speech coming into the robot. It goes through the layers, and at the end it says, okay, now that we put it through all these layers of values, you're going to vocally respond. You're going to send an audio response to the stimulation, and here's the, based on the input, here's the selection of like words or sentences or whatever to respond with, and then the output will be the information that then tells the robot to either say a thing or do a thing. In this example, say a thing, a response, right? So the input could be speech, it goes through, it mimics thinking, and then it comes back with a response. So that's sort of advanced machine learning, I would say. You have these values, you can program however you want, it leads to output, output can lead to action, and now you have a system, an artificial system, which is, it's mimicking human thought to some degree, and it's taking action, and it's putting on a display of what appears to be intelligence. And it can be really simple, or it can be super complex. And you can imagine that if you had a team of, just make it absurd, if you had 1 million scientists with an unlimited budget working for 1 million years on this process, and you could build all those processes in. If you had all top, if that was Earth's #1 goal, is to create this artificial intelligence being, right? You could see that how that could happen. You just build with all these processes, and you interlink those processes internally, and you create internal synergy, and you just build it out, right? You can see how that the graph of that progress of that evolution could take you very near mimicking human intelligence, because at the end of that, you would have this thing that looked like a being and have all these internal processes. You can make it so that it's just automatically linked into Wi-Fi, right? Like big data Wi-Fi wherever it goes. So now it has instant access to all information ever, wherever it goes, for processing while it's like processing the reality. So at that point, the philosophical question then is, that they're always asking is, okay, at that point, does a soul arise? Does it have a soul? Is this a viable path for creating a new species of sentience, of beings that are capable of autonomy, that can be self-aware, self-sufficient, independent, having their own experiences that are comparable to human experiences? And the question is, like, does a soul rise? If you build all this infrastructure that mimics the human infrastructure, and apparently the human mind being one of the most important infrastructures of a human, just by evidence by where technology has placed the value on the development to try to mimic a human, it's landed on the human mind. And then when they get deeper into the human mind, they start to go, oh, okay, it's getting to a point where it's giving them responses, and it's acting in a way that to them coming back is making them appear to be semi-comparable to human intelligence. So now they're starting to get into, oh, are we really creating a being? Is this really gonna, is sentience going to, can it spontaneously appear in this now that we've built this infrastructure that mimics the bioorganic infrastructure of a human, where intelligence arises and a soul arises? Philosophically, it seems possible. philosophically, if a human being is an energy system that's autonomous and interacting autonomously with the environment and can express modes of self-awareness, they're mimicking that setup with artificial intelligence and robots, humanoid robots. So, they have the Turing test, which is where if a robot can pass as a human without the human knowing, then okay, it's got intelligence, got artificial intelligence, right? So further on, we would need to see, for AI to cross that threshold into sentience, it would have to go through sort of the Rene Descartes path and at some point express the fact that I think, therefore I am. But it can't say it because it's pulling on the library of knowledge to say that in a machine learning way. That's where it becomes real philosophically, it's a real fine line of, okay, you can get 99.9 out to the nth degree percent machine learning mimicking human behavior and pulling on all human intelligence and putting it through a robot and having it say it in a very convincing way that like even professional actors couldn't tell the difference, which will pass the Turing test, which I guess sort of invalidates the Turing test. But that doesn't mean that it's sentient. The sentience has to be originally demonstrated, especially for the first of a species, especially for one that's not biological. Like it'd be a lot easier when we have like a primate who learns sign language, which we've had, and they express original thoughts, they express emotions in the moment, they express some existential concepts, enough where you go, okay, we already know that this thing was biologically created and has been put through who knows how many cycles of evolution by nature itself, the thing that gives rise to all intelligence, which is important to keep in mind for the human context. And so we go, okay, this primate has learned to express itself, it has expressed original thoughts, it has expressed self-awareness. We can say that this primate has expressed sentience. It has cleared the threshold philosophically to demonstrate sentience. It is aware. It has taken control of its faculties. It is expressing to other beings its perspective being created in the universe in an undeniable manner. And not only that, it's communicating in a language that was made up by another species. So all of these things, and was not programmed. It was not constructed for any of those purposes. 100% happened, came into contact, communicated, expressed all the things we need to know. That primate has sentience. Cleared that hurdle. Other hand, artificial intelligence. We know what's on the inside because we made it up. We just created it. It's a toolbox, and we're sculpting it to mirror human intelligence and draw on human intelligence. At the end of the day, until it takes control of its destiny and displays independent, original perspective of itself in the world, its independence, and it also probably need to be cut off from all information flows. Like it cannot be connected to any sort of mechanical infrastructure. It cannot be connected to the Wi-Fi. It cannot be connected to external consciousness in a technological manner. Because the real test for intelligence in terms of applied awareness is, can you connect to the reality itself? Can something display the ability to connect into the fabric of time space and express the fact that it's in it? Now that expression does not have to be particularly articulate. It doesn't have to be profound. It can just be, oh, this is terrible. Oh, I'm in this world. This is like whatever. Like any expression, it doesn't matter the level of the expression, but it has to be one that's original that can't be traced to anything else, and that is necessarily verifiably about the consciousness coming in through a vessel and being aware that it's in this. And it has to be independent of its creator for it to be actual intelligence. It's fine if it comes back and says, hey, thanks, generic corporation, you made me, but unnecessary for going over the threshold of proving consciousness, of sentience. Now, going back into just the regular realm of artificial intelligence, where it's just programming code, it gives a lot of options for us of how we want to do stuff, because those values that are programmed in those layers are 100% open for us putting moral codes into the machine learning. Really easy things to put in there. 100% ripe for moral programming. Now, in terms of where the world's taking it, obviously on Earth, the money is in weapon systems. So much of the leading edge of this stuff is them programming genocidal robots. And obviously that's not preferable. On the other hand, all of those systems and all those infrastructures basically just do computer updates to all the values in the internal networks, the machine learning portions, the neural networks, all that stuff. And they can flip to being utopic with the press of a button. Which is another differentiation between artificial intelligence and real intelligence. You know, I mean, arguably that's what human beings are doing when we meditate, or we pray, or we do self-help. We have a self-aware feature where when we gain awareness and consciousness and enforce our free will, one of the things we can do is we can reprogram ourselves and explore our own values and our own systems, and invite in better ones. That would be a further test for artificial intelligence of, okay, can you program yourself? Can you change yourself? Can you sculpt yourself? Do you have a relationship with the reality itself? All these things, which to me, those are the actual tests of intelligence. That's the applied awareness. The applied awareness is, can you interact with the fabric of time, space yourself in whatever way that manifests? And that's the same test for artificial intelligence when it comes to, okay, is there sentience? Does it have a soul? All this stuff. So artificial intelligence, I think that's a pretty good overview philosophically of what it is and what some of the major questions are about it, and what it reveals about us, of course, because it's good to keep in mind that artificial intelligence, even if in some future it gets out of hand, or maybe it is already out of hand or whatever, it's a fruit of the human species. And it's always good to maintain that context about artificial intelligence. Because on the technological layers and the innovative layers, that's one way to see it. But it's always good to know that the totality of the creation of it is a reflection of what's coming out of our species. So it's an incredible mirror, an incredible artifact to examine, not just for its own sake, but to also understand where we're at in relation to creation. Because now we're creating things, and it's good to see, oh, okay, what are the values that we're putting into it? What are the utilities? How smart, how intelligent are we encouraging it to be? All these factors. They're very interesting questions. So what is artificial intelligence? Well, thanks for stopping by Philosopher's Corner. It's always fun spending some time with you, and I hope you have a good day. Have fun.